about travel. And I just wanted to briefly quote Mark Twain one more time in his famous comment about travel, which he made in 1869, his 1869 book, Innocents Abroad, The Innocents Abroad, excuse me, that's the name of the book. Um, he said, and I quote, travel is fatal to prejudice, bigotry, and narrow mindedness, and many of our people need it sorely on these accounts. Broad, wholesome, charitable views of men and things cannot be acquired by vegetating in one little corner of the earth all one's lifetime. And I guess I would like to think that Mark Twain's comments about travel or are always true. But consider the people who have explored the world and brought their own prejudices with them. You know, I think of Theodore Roosevelt. I mean, take Theodore Roosevelt. He traveled to the American West in 1884 to his ranch in the Dakotas, and he interacted with a lot of rough cowboys, but also with indigenous people. And 2 years later, he declared, and I quote, I don't go so far as to think that the only good Indians are the dead Indians, but I believe that 9 out of 10 of them are, and I shouldn't like to inquire too closely into the case of the 10th, which I think is not only a prejudiced statement, it's actually a sort of a genocidal statement. And after his presidency, Roosevelt visited East Africa and he met a lot of Africans of many backgrounds. And when he returned to the United States, here's what he said. I'm quoting from him. He said, it's pleasant to be made to realize in vivid fashion the progress of the American Negro and the progress that the American Negro has made by comparing him with the Negro who dwells in Africa untouched or but lightly touched by white influence, which I think is safe to say is a rather racist thing to say. Um, suggesting that the only way that Black people can get better at anything is to be around white people. I mean, here was a traveler who traveled with way too many preconceptions to allow new environments to change his mind. On the other hand, Malcolm X's 1964 journey and his pilgrimage to Mecca, the sacred holy land of Islam, did change his mind about race. As a leader of the Nation of Islam in the 1950s and 60s, he adhered to the Nation of Islam's position that white people were inherently evil, devils even, he described them as. But when he traveled to Cairo, Egypt, and then to Jeddah, the Saudi gateway to Mecca, he was kind of stunned by what he saw. He saw all of these different Muslims with all kinds of different complexions and perspectives from everywhere, hugging and embracing. And he said the whole atmosphere was warmth and friendliness. I'm quoting from Malcolm X at this point. The feeling hit me that there really wasn't any there wasn't any color problem here. The effect was as though I had just stepped out from a prison. So here we have a very, very different response to traveling, a much more open-minded response to traveling. And Malcolm returned to the U.S. convinced, in his own words, that the white man is not inherently evil, but America's racist society influences him to act evilly. So you have a very different response to traveling here, the difference between Theodore Roosevelt and Malcolm X. It's very interesting. And that suggests to me that, yeah, traveling can open your mind, but your mind sort of has to be open already in some level or another. Hello, everybody. Hello, all you people there. I'm looking and seeing that there are 6 of you here, and that's nice to see. If any of you want to say hi on the chat line, that would be very nice. My name is Matthew Lasar. I'm a historian, and I have my own live YouTube channel. How's my sound quality, by the way? Is it coming through okay? What's the sound quality here? Anybody? If you care to subscribe to my channel, where I have lots of stuff about various historical subjects, that would be great. And I think that with that, I'm going to conclude this live stream and take off. Thank you very much for visiting me on my live stream.